the perfect heist that should have ended in celebration. On a quiet morning, a heavily armed gang pulled off what seemed impossible. Within minutes, they disappeared with $18 million. No alarm stopped them. No police caught them. No witnesses could explain how the robbery unfolded so perfectly. For a brief moment, it looked like the criminals had executed one of the greatest cash heists in history. But they had made one fatal mistake.
If you're enjoying this story, please like the video to support us, and subscribe to the channel for more unbelievable true stories.
They trusted each other. What followed wasn't a glamorous escape. It became a brutal chain reaction of paranoia, betrayal, disappearances, and murder. The money that was supposed to buy freedom instead became a death sentence for almost everyone who touched it. This is the true story of the gang that stole millions, only to destroy themselves from the inside. Months before the robbery, the gang operated with military precision. Each member had a specific role: drivers, lookouts, weapons specialists, inside informants, escape coordinators. Nothing was left to chance. Safe houses were rented under false identities. Vehicles were stolen weeks in advance and hidden across multiple locations. Communication was kept to an absolute minimum. Every rehearsal focused on one goal: complete control. Unlike ordinary robberies, the gang understood that speed alone wouldn't guarantee success. Confusion would. If investigators couldn't immediately understand what had happened, every passing minute increased their chance of disappearing forever. By the time authorities realized the full scale of the operation, the gang planned to be hundreds of miles away. Everything depended on perfect teamwork. At least, that was the plan. The robbery unfolded almost exactly as planned. Within minutes, millions in cash had changed hands. The operation was fast, disciplined, professional. Escape vehicles switched repeatedly along carefully planned routes. Evidence was abandoned before investigators could follow it. Witnesses offered conflicting descriptions. The gang had successfully disappeared. Across the country, police launched one of the largest manhunts in recent memory. Roadblocks appeared. Air support searched for fleeing vehicles. Investigators traced every possible lead, but the money and the people responsible seemed to vanish. For a short time, the criminals believed they had actually beaten the system. Then the argument started. Nobody trusted anyone anymore. How should the money be divided? Who deserved the biggest share? Who knew too much? Who might cooperate with police if arrested? Every unanswered question made the group more dangerous. Meetings became shorter. Weapons became more visible. Former friends refused to meet alone. Some gang members disappeared without warning. Others were found dead. Investigators initially believed rival gangs were responsible, but the evidence painted a different picture. The violence wasn't coming from outsiders. The gang was destroying itself. The robbery had created more money than they could safely divide and more fear than they could control. The greatest threat wasn't the police. It was sitting inside the gang itself. For investigators, the sudden violence changed everything. Each murder created new forensic evidence. New witnesses emerged. Former associates began talking. Hidden financial movements exposed relationships that had previously remained invisible. One mistake led investigators to another. The gang's carefully constructed secrecy slowly unraveled. Members who had survived the robbery now feared each other more than prison. The enormous manhunt gradually transformed into a murder investigation. Every betrayal exposed another piece of the puzzle. The criminals had spent months planning the perfect robbery, only to destroy that plan through greed and suspicion. The $18 million robbery remains one of the clearest examples of a simple truth. Stealing the money is often easier than keeping it. The gang succeeded where few criminals ever have. They escaped, they disappeared, they outsmarted investigators, but they failed at something far more difficult: trusting each other after the crime was over. In the end, the money that promised freedom became the very reason the gang turned on itself. Sometimes the most dangerous part of a robbery begins only after the escape.